Niranjanam Nityam Anantarupam Bhaktanukampadhrita Vigraham Vai Ishavataram Parameshamidyam Tam Ramakrishnam Shirsa Namaha. Namaste and welcome to our discourse on Sunday morning or midday in some places. The topic today is sort of a continuation on the subjects we have been discussing in the last couple of weeks. But in particular, we are going to explore the mechanics of attachment and detachment in spiritual life. For those who have been sincerely trying to practice meditation, they will appreciate this challenge of detaching the mind from the things of the world in our hours of meditation and trying to attach it to the Supreme or the Divine within us or whatever aspect of God. We hear in the teachings of Sri Ramakrishna that he says, renunciation is the very essence of a spiritual practice. And one cannot make much progress in a spiritual life without that one singular progress in that one singular spiritual discipline. Many people get a little scared or frightened of when they hear the word renunciation because of the tremendous attachment to the things of the world, which they have worked so hard to acquire. And then suddenly somebody promises a state of realization or God or Atman, and the main condition is that you have to give up all these things. So it's a big gamble for many. And unless the deep conviction is there about the truth of this higher state and that's achievable, many will not really venture into it. But Sri Ramakrishna was the very embodiment of renunciation, and he taught it, and he said that, look, everyone has to practice renunciation. A monk will renounce both physically and mentally, but the householder, he cannot renounce physically. He has to take care of his house and family and children and all these things. He cannot simply leave that and go. Nonetheless, he has or she has to renounce mentally, but renunciation has to be done. We hear a little story, and you'll remember little stories about how we get attached to things, but we are not able to detach ourselves from them. And the story is that in one winter, two monks were sitting on the bank of the river Ganga in the Himalayas. It was very cold, and of course, you require some warm clothes. As they were sitting and watching, they saw something like a blanket was drifting down the river. One of them knew how to swim, so he said to his companion, let me grab hold of that blanket, it will be very useful to us. And he jumped into the water, and he was a good swimmer. He swam up to the black thing, looking like a blanket. And his companion is watching from the embankment and seeing that his friend is not coming back with the blanket. So he says, okay, maybe it's too difficult to have it. Let it go, come back. And the friend says, I have let it go, but it is not letting me go. It was not really a blanket, it was a mountain bear that was drifting down the river. So, you see, in ignorance, we reach out to things which we don't know how dangerous they are because we have some need. These people require some warm blanket. And when they get hold of it, then the thing gets hold of them. And when they want to let go because it's too painful, it could be some relationship, it could be some job, it could be, you can find so many practical examples in your own life. When you want to let go, it is not letting you go, and you suffer endlessly in the clutches of those things. In other words, we got attached to something and we did not know or could not detach ourselves from it. So, if there is a plight of small, simple things, you will see later on, you will discuss, in so many ways we are attached to so many things in this world. And if we are not able to extricate our mind, our attachment to these things, this mind is held down on the ground. No matter how much spiritual practices you will do, your mind will not be able to ascend because these things are holding you down. We give the example of a hot air balloon. You are doing some tapasya. Tapasya means heat. You generate the heat. So in a hot air balloon, you turn on the burners and the roaring flame will heat up the air and the hot air balloon inflates. Why do you want to go up? Because somebody has promised that if you go up there, you will get a much better view. The whole thing, it's so beautiful from there. You want to have that experience. So somebody has gone up there and he said, this is the method to do it. You get into that hot air balloon basket, you put on the gas. That means you're doing your Japan meditation and everything, but nothing is happening. You're not taking off. The reason is that all the ropes that were holding those hot air balloon to the ground, we have not unpacked them and untied them, and therefore your efforts are not being rewarded. Sri Ramakrishna gives another example of some young man who decided one night to cross the river Ganga and go to the city and have a nice evening out. And you can understand, they went out, had a good time, they drink one too many, and then came back to the embankment at midnight, got into the boat because they had to cross in the river, and they started rowing and rowing and rowing. Of course, when the dawn broke, they found they were still in the same place. They had not moved because they had forgot to untie the rope that was tied to the embankment. So there we go. We are sincere. We practice our Japan meditation. We are not making progress because the detachment is not there. So you'll see a lot of instructions you'll find in the Gita, in the Upanishads, and in very simple ways through the stories, trying to tell us why we should practice detachment. Sri Ramakrishna says, what is the discipline of a devotee or seeker of truth? Ishwarer prati anurag, jagater prati vairagya. Jagat means this world. Jagat means that which is constantly changing. One moment it's there, not there, it comes and it disappears. So this world is asat. That means it is subject to creation, preservation, and destruction in time, space, and causation. But there's another reality which is called sat, which is permanent, which is the Brahmano, Atmano, pure consciousness, which forms the substratum of this universe. And when we pray Asatomas Sadgamaya, from the depth of our heart, the prayer should come that, look, I don't want to be entangled and identified with this changing world because it will slip out of my hand. I would like to access that unchanging reality, which is my true nature, which is, as the sages say, that's the promise. Brahman is unchanging beyond time, space, and causation. But when we try to do that, this world is not letting us go so easily. Why? Because we are so seriously entangled with this world. So if you remember now where we're leading to, in the last 3 or 4 classes, we had tried to understand from a science point of view what and how we are entangled with this world in so many ways. And I used the word, the mechanics, exploring the mechanics of attachment in spiritual life. I use the word mechanics, a bit of a science word. So we want to have a little rational explanation. Otherwise, we're trying to do something and nothing is happening. And after some time, people will lose interest and say, it's too much, it won't happen for me, it's all right for great souls or sadhus who have left the world to dedicate their whole life for them. But for me, we are, as they say, ordinary householders with the type of excuse they will come, and it's too much for us. But Sri Ramakrishna says when devotees would come to them, he said, yes, it's also possible for even a householder to realize the truth. God himself is coming and telling. Of course, he's not trying to just give us some sweet candies and try to make us feel nice. He'll tell the truth. But along with that, some little disciplines are necessary by which we to disentangle the mind from these things of the world. Only then your sadhana will fructify. Otherwise, what happens? The energy gets dissipated. The results of your sadhana that you Japan meditation, it gets dissipated in so many ways that is being explained. For example, this person is rowing, but the effort is not yielding any progress in crossing across the river. Or you're putting that hot air in that balloon, but if there's some holes in that balloon and the hot air keeps on escaping, so it doesn't build up that pressure to rise to another level. Sri Ramakrishna gives another analogy. The farmers in the village in Kamarpukur, when they're planting rice, what would they do? They will make a paddock and they'll connect that paddock to a channel, irrigation channel, and the water will flow into this particular paddock, and they hope that overnight it will fill, so the next morning they'll come and put the rice seedlings. But when they come the next morning, they find it's empty. What happened? some rats had made some holes in the embankment, so as the water was coming in, it was flowing out also. Likewise, we do a lot of sadhana and japa and everything, but somewhere the energy that is we're supposed to harness is being dissipated. You take a battery to a mechanic and charge it. Okay, he connects it to the electrical system. But if the insulator of that battery is not very good, the charge keeps on getting dissipated to the ground. So in so many ways, we can understand the importance of this, of harnessing that energy and sublimating it, taking it to another level. Only then the mind will rise. So when Arjuna was having all these doubts and confusion about whether he should fight the battle of, the battle which was his duty, on the teaching, Sri Krishna says, Udhret Atmana Atmanam Na Atmanam Sadhayet Atmaneva Atmano Bandhu Atmaneva Ripuratmana. Raise yourself by yourself, do not lower yourself. If you can raise yourself, you are your own best friend, and if it goes down, you are your own worst enemy. There's no friend out there or enemy out there. Our own mind can be the best friend and the worst enemy. So, managing this mind, hence the topics have been the series Mind Management Techniques. How do we manage this mind? So, we have to understand this mind first, how it functions and works. Knowledge is powerful. Once you have figured out how these entanglements are there, then you yourself will understand how the disentanglement will happen. So let's go back to a very interesting topic, topic you may say, idea. We had been discussing in, say, 3 or 4 lectures back about how we should conceptualize what this mind is. Well, what is this mind? You say there is something there inside us. I can't see it. It's not a physical thing. But I can feel, I function through that. It's an instrument through which I work. I think of something and then my body functions and my speech comes out. So, but I'm different from the mind. Most of the time I get identified with the mind. And you say, I'm happy, I am happy, I know, I don't know. But really, we are slightly different from that. So, but what is it? Is it just simply a collection of ideas and thoughts in the mind, static, like things kept on the hard disk of your computer? So much information is there, but it's not moving static. Or is it a living, dynamic form of energy that's pulsating? Of course, it's not static, it's more of a dynamic thing. Dynamic means it's a flow of processes, energy that is moving. So in this cosmic mind, which is called the Mahat or the Hiranyagarbha, imagine that to be like a huge river is flowing down. And in that river, there are small whirlpools. So the water in that river is called the Chitta, the mind stuff, Chitta. And in that Chitta, as the water flows due to disturbances, you get this little eddy currents and whirlpools are there. Imagine that to be us individuals, a collection or a vortex of energy in that cosmic mind, which gathers that energy from outside and sucks things and builds itself up. It can become, or it can begin to get dissipated. Okay, so the word vritti means a whirlpool. Yoga's chitta vritti nirodha. Yoga means in our own mental space, we want to remove all those little whirlpools are there. Whirlpools are like thoughts and ideas that have gathered momentum, and you like them, and you similar ideas, it builds up the momentum, and sometimes you like it, and so you are very happy in that company of such thoughts. You sit down and contemplate about some wonderful experience or the people there, but basically the person is not there. That experience is in history. You're recollecting all the leftover samskaras or reminiscences in your mind, and that give you a pleasant feeling. Or it could be an opposite thing. You remember some painful experience that happened, and every time you slip into that whirlpool, you are feeling very miserable and painful. Okay, and sometimes it will suck you inside that whirlpool, and you go down into some deep space, and you're all depressed, and these tragic things happen. Or it could be some just anxiety or worry, but you are not in control in that whirlpool. The whirlpool is now spinning you around. It's taken you for a spin, so to say. So these are all these things that are happening in our mental space in the Chit Akasha. Remember, we talked about this physical world is Maha Akasha, made of material things, physical world, right from a small atom to the biggest galaxy. Anything material is in a space called Maha Akasha. Finer than this, subtler than this is called the Chit Akasha, the mental space, where the the things, so to say, the contents of out of which it is made are thoughts and ideas, which we have said are dynamic in nature, means constantly moving, is energy, it's a mental energy, because it's all part of Shakti. Anything that is right from the Brahmaloka to the gross plane is a manifestation of Shakti. Shakti means energy or power. At the highest level, the energy is vibrating at very high frequency, so to say. As it comes down and becomes more and more concretized, materialized, grossified, so to say, in between is the mental space, and downwards it comes down to a material thing, a brick, a plant, or an animal, or something like that. But they all belong to this domain called Prakriti or Shakti, but it's differentiated. Prakriti means that which is differentiated. At the gross level, material level, it is very dense and thick. At the highest level, it is very purified. Okay, so keep that on that framework in your mind, in which we as an individuals are a whirlpool, so to say, bringing in this energy from our previous lifetimes into this body, because we bring our mind and take up a physical body here. And in this life, we are constantly drawing in new ideas and experiences, and we are radiating that out. So that which is outside me is called my environment. That is within me, that is what is my subject. And I act on the environment, and the environment acts on us. Now, this acting on each other ends up with an entanglement. Okay, and if the outside world things are the controllers, then we dance to the music. And that's where the problems are there. Because we reached out looking for the blanket and found it was a bear. Now we are caught by the bear of this world, and the bear is making us dance to its music, so to say. So we'll come to this idea why I'm using this word dancing to the music. And you think around and you see how nicely we are dancing all around. We don't like the dance. It's a painful dance, but we are not in control. The world is pulling the strings and we are dancing like a puppet. We define it with nice words and things, do all these cosmetic things, but it's not a pleasant dance anyway. So we discussed this idea of this entanglement, and I use this concept of rhythmic entanglement or engagement. We use this. So let me quickly revise that, because that's a very powerful idea to see how this coupling between us, the internal mind, and the outside world happens. So we say, if a person puts in half a dozen of grandfather clocks on the wall and he makes them to swing randomly, they're all over the place, and he comes after 2 days, he finds that all of them are swinging together. Okay, why did that happen? They don't talk to each other, they're not touching and having some agreement. They're mechanical things moving, but somehow some communication is happening. That means the vibration of this pendulum swing disturbs the air a little bit. That disturbance gets transmitted across the air medium, and the other fellow feels that somebody else is vibrating out there, but we are not together. And it's not a very pleasant thing, because we are conflicting with that energy. What happens in that process? Gradually, you'll find that they will decide that it's good for us to form a team, what is called a system, where we'll all help each other in swinging together. Okay, so it's called rhythmic entanglement, or entrainment is the word there. You entrain the ones nearby. So imagine we find this type of groups there, systems there. This is called a system. In our body, there are all these systems. We got the nervous system, muscular system, digestive system, skeletal, muscular system. All the systems are there, and they will all work together again at another level to form an organism. You'll find the solar system is also a system where the sun is the center and the planets are deciding that they will go around one another. You'll find so many cyclic movements in nature, because nature understands that to be most efficient, it is good to be entangled and work in a system where the minimum energy is dissipated and most of the energy is conserved within what is called a sustainable loop. So it's moving together. This is called periodic movement. Same thing happening again and again and again. So you'll find lots of examples in nature. Nature is very intelligent and smart in that way. She knows how to design the most efficient systems for the conservation of energy by having this, building the sustainable systems by looping the energy together. Now, going back to this 6 pendulums that are swinging there. You bring a 7th pendulum next to it, and you set it in motion and swinging out of rhythm. But you come after 2 hours, you may probably find that the 7th one has come in rhythm with this. It didn't take 2 days for that. Why? Because the bigger system exerts a bigger force on a smaller system and pulls it in. It's always the bigger system that is the controller and the master of the system. Just like the moon goes around the earth and not the other way around. The planets go around the sun, not the other way around. So the bigger system will always have the influence to pull the others into its rhythm, so to say. So you'll find that, as an example, in our society and community, you find you go and join a company, maybe you think you went there for the money and the job, and your qualification is something there. The people, the culture of that place is not exactly what you like. Okay, so if on the first day or first week you'll feel slightly out of place, the people are doing other things, but you stick around there for some time, and after 2 months, you are totally at home and you say, I am settled in there. Okay, in the beginning you'll begin to feel that little pull. Okay, and you might find as a peer group pressure, just like the 7th pendulum feels the pull of this other 6, and the pressure draws them in, and before you know, it has become entrained and entangled with it. We say it has become coupled, or it has become paired to that. When the pairing and that coupling happens, that means there's a linking there. Then in that, through that process of the linkage, there's a flow of energy. Just like you take your phone and you pair it in your Wi-Fi system. Okay, there's a information and all those things are there. Your own phone has got its own, it's not what you call signal, but you connect it, and then suddenly all the information that's available on the internet or the system is being able to download onto your thing. Now that's very interesting. So you'll think about it in how many ways, and this is the exercise I would like you to do, is take a piece of paper or book or something and critically, analytically, surgically analyze the world's things that we are attached to, and try to use this idea of this pendulum that you are one and these systems are there. So you are entangled with your family, you're entangled with your job, you're entangled with your car in some way, because now if something happens to that, it affects you. Okay, somebody comes and scratches, or there's a whole hailstorm and your car got damaged, you feel bad because the hailstorm did not hit you, but that change is affecting you. In other words, now it is beginning to control. And being controlled is not freedom, it is slavery. Okay, it's not a mechanical thing. Okay, you are entangled with somebody. That person is husband and wife, and you're coupled. That's why you use the word we are coupled. Okay, you are coupled to that. And when you're coupled, that means you're happy together and everything. But if you are not so happy and you want to disentangle, then there's a problem. It doesn't let you go. Like the bear is not letting you go. So you think, and you'll find at so many levels, we are entangled to so many things in our external environment. It could be the house you're living, a material thing, to your money in the bank, to your name and to fame, your popularity in the society. It could be entangled to a particular nationality, and you will call that patriotism. Okay, and for that you are ready to go and fight and die for an ideal. You can be entangled or entrained with a particular ideology. Okay, like lives matter or this or that, and for that you are ready out there to do all those things. That idea pulls you out and makes you do things. You are entangled with some spiritual or religious organization, and you believe in that faith, and suddenly you are closer to those people than your own family members, so to say. You're entangled in so many ways at so many levels to this society. Remember, this entangling or coupling, while sometimes it is good, you'll find that in uplifting, but it has the opposite effect also. So if you take this 7th pendulum and you want to disengage out of that, the looping and coupling, you'll find that the influence of that system is so strong that it will not easily let you go. So you'll have a painful situation. You find and decide it's better to let me go. But the system really doesn't let you go. So when you think very deeply, you'll find that you can literally make a whole list of things. And they're not all bad. Okay. Then you classify those outside systems in 2 categories. One, Are those systems higher to you? That means they have an uplifting influence on you. Or the energy levels of those systems are lower. That means they drain you out of that energy. So, for example, this pendulum, let us say, is swinging at 50 hertz. If your frequency is say 55 hertz, it will pull you down to 50. If you are at 45, it will lift you up. Therefore, we have to be very careful what type of system we expose ourselves to when we come close to them. Okay, they can have a bad company can pull your mind down and take you down. A satsang is a good company that when you approach it, so you have a group of people who believe in some high spiritual ideology and a lot of positive energies there, you approach them, and that influence of that group works on you, just like this sixth, seventh pendulum came next to the system, and they will entrain you to that idea. And before you know, you have begun to subscribe to these thoughts and ideas and totally feel at home. But sometimes that will also form an entrapment, so to say. When you want to go higher, it will hold you down also, and you can't break loose there. So when you're talking about attachment and detachment in spiritual life, you can understand from this example, this mechanics of this, how deeply we are connected to this world. And unless we can figure out a way of disconnecting, all efforts in a spiritual life will not happen, because it's like putting in a lot of hot air into a balloon, but some things are holding you down. So these are called the obstacles to yoga, okay, to spiritual knowledge. So when the spiritual teachers, they understand all these mechanics of it in great detail, because they can really see the workings of the mind at a deeper level than we can do. Sri Ramakrishna would say, I can see the mind or the contents of a person's mind like things kept in a glass showcase. So at home you've got a showcase with all your pots and cups and all those things are there, okay? And you can see the content transparently because the glass is transparent. Enlightened soul can see into us, through us, beyond the physical body to mind. But they don't come and tell us, hey, look, you got this and that, because if they do tell us, oh, it will be a very, very painful story. It will probably make us very, very sad to see the entangled state of things. So it's just like a doctor who has seen how a disease is there. He doesn't go in detail in trying to explain you all the elements and how it had happened. He says, look, that's all right. I'll give you the medicine. You take the medicine and that will sort itself out. You'll get restored to your health. So they are more focused in not trying to explain to you how the nature of the disease is there, but take the medicine. But you have to have that shraddha that Swamiji was talking a little bit, that faith that yes, the doctor knows his business, he knows how to diagnose, he knows how to prescribe, and he has the experience. I can trust him implicitly. I will follow the instructions, and if you do that, you'll find that healing begins to take place. But there are some people, skeptical people, who want to understand things a little bit more. Show me the reason and the logic in all those things. So they will say, doctor, can you please explain to me how this has happened and all those things? And if the doctor is inclined, or he thinks that this, if it's a child is asking for that, he's not going to bother and waste his time because he doesn't have the capacity to understand. But somebody is sufficiently educated with some background, he says, okay, I'll explain to you, with the hope that that knowledge will inspire that person to now follow the prescription. So that's why the instructions that are given in the scriptures are do's and don'ts. Don't do this. If you follow them sincerely, you will have the effect. But then the bhashya, the commentary, the explanations, which we are trying to do in different ways using science and all these types of ideas to explain, once maybe that can bring a little bit more clarity. And he said, now it makes sense. And I will practice these things more. With this modern people of this age, with a lot of education and more rational people, we say, approaching them through this intellect sometimes helps. So that's why this effort is there to explain what is attachment and detachment and how we are entangled and how we can become disentangled. And in that context, how the spiritual teachings have a place. So it's not implicitly blindly following, you definitely know it's there. So what are these obstacles to knowledge? We talked about Maharishi's Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, he says there are 9 types of obstacles when a person is trying to practice spiritual disciplines. We talked about that in detail, but that quick revision is there. What are they? The first one is sickness, vyadhi, physical element. So if body is, so you'll find that these elements have more to do with the tamogun and rajogun, with the physical body and the mind. When the tamas is too much, inertia is too much, or rajas is too much, that uncontrolled, restless energy in us, they are the causes of the obstacles. So these need to be pacified before the sattva element becomes predominant, and meditation truly is really possible when we cultivate a certain degree of sattva. Otherwise, out of courtesy, we say we are meditating. Really, your mind is all over the place. You're just trying to rest, constantly wrestle with the mind and practicing pratyahara. It's going out to bring it in. Dharana you're practicing. But dhyana is the 7th state in this. That we are not practicing. Out of courtesy, we say we are doing meditation. So, how do we, what are these problems? We understand the problems, diagnosis is there, then we understand how the medicine, that one must take the medicine. Otherwise, there might be a patient who might have a little cancer. He hasn't even diagnosed, he's going happily around saying everything is very fine until he goes and somebody does a scan. He said, my God, this has been sitting there for 6 months. Didn't you know? Likewise, there are a lot of things sitting in our own mind which we are not aware of it. And maybe when we get to know them, sometimes it's a bit too late to do anything about them. So first one is vyadhi, sickness. Then sthyan, mental laziness. We talked about it before, but it's good to go through that again, because otherwise we are expecting too much, not taking care of the challenges are there. That these things will come in your spiritual life. You'll find that sometimes the body is not really cooperative. Okay, sickness, the energy level is very low. Or mental laziness, initially I don't want to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, you turn around and make some excuse and I will do later or something like that. Imagine that. Samshaya, doubt will come. All that is very nice, but really, is there God? Is it possible? That type of idea will enter and nullify all that good hard work you were trying to build up there. It's like, throwing a cat among the pigeons, so to say, and everything gets disturbed. So that happens. So you have to avoid such people as a spiritual practitioner who will try to feed you that negative energy and undo the good work there. That is there. Okay. Then comes pramada. That means lack of enthusiasm. So you do it once or twice and then things begin to cool down. Thanda ho gane laga. Theek hai. So a lot of enthusiasm. You took your initiation with the idea that I'll meditate for half an hour or something. Then you turn around after 6 months and say, how is it going? Oh, I'm doing it. Some days I do, whenever I get time type of thing. What happened to that enthusiasm out of which you were showing at the beginning of the spiritual practice? So that is called pramada. Okay. Then sloth, alasya, lazy. So you've seen that animal sloth, when it moves, it is like it's forever trying to stretch out its limbs like that. So some people are like that in their spiritual progress. It's like it's forever trying to take them time to do those type of things. It's not very good. In spiritual life, it requires tremendous amount of energy, viryam, utsaha. And then comes virati, this craving for sense pleasures. Okay, so many attractive things are there, and they're constantly trying to draw the mind outside. So some beautiful tour, I have to go to Alaska tour, some new restaurant has opened in the city, I have to go and visit this. So entertainment of the ears, of the eyes, of the nose and all that, what they do, they draw the mind out there and entangle you. So you went there and you said, I had a good experience and I want to go there again. So you are entangled to it. You find that in so many ways, if you're not careful, in a very simple way, you might reach out, but before you know, you're caught. Just like he went out not knowing there was a bear, but the bear catches you. So a spiritual seeker has to be very, very vigilant. He should not, he should be very careful, think twice before he engages with things. Something must be controlling in him, inside from within. The example given by Sri Ramakrishna is this elephant. He has got this elephant driver who sits in the back with a little stick. Of course, the elephant is very big, and he's controlling. So he's going down the path, okay, maybe in place like Kerala or Bengal, and there's this banana palm, and the elephants love that. So he'll stretch out its trunk, try to grab it. And when that happens, the mahout, the controller, rider, is maximum and it draws itself back. So this outgoing tendency to see something and enjoy it, that's a trunk of the elephant. Okay, you are the spiritual seeker. This person who is riding and controlling is your own buddhi. If the buddhi is alert and awake, say, that's not that way, then you will be able to control the elephant of your mind. But if the buddhi is not awake, then the elephant goes and enjoys, and you find that a lot of things are there. So that is craving of the sense pleasures. False perception. You do some samadhi or some meditation, you'll get some vision or some experience, and you think this is it. I have had this spiritual realization or some experience, and wow, and all the typos. And many people sometimes they make it because everyone is saying, and I will also have to have it. So all these things happen. The genuine spiritual experience doesn't come, and this lower experience are mistaken to be the ultimate experience. Then, when you're trying to concentrate your mind on your mantra and your chosen ideal, you find that the mind is not cooperating. Okay, a lot of effort you try to focus, and before you know, the mind has gone on to the world tour and it's gone somewhere. It's very interesting. Don't forcefully bring the mind back and say, try to trace yourself back. What are the preceding thoughts in before I landed at this particular place? And you'll be surprised how many intervening stages and thoughts and ideas it went. It took a little bit of a detour before it ended there. So basically, you want to watch your mind and then educate it and say, look, what did you get it for? What was so attractive here that you had to leave such a beautiful, wonderful idea of your own divine nature that you'd like to come down here with such urgency? And the mind will say nothing, I just happened to, out of habit, I come here. So he said, okay, that's all right, let's go back. And likewise, be a good friend to your mind, and just like, you talk to a little child and reason with him and try to see them the light and give them that experience. This is good and that's not good. Likewise, we have to befriend our mind to give them a taste of that spiritual discipline. So sometimes when this mind keeps on going out, we might despair. That's an obstacle in yoga. People will say, oh, it's impossible for me. Asambhavana, it's not possible for me. I give up, type of thing. And therefore, they cut down on the spiritual discipline, so the minimum. So that's an obstacle to yoga. And the last one is unsteadiness in concentration. Sometimes you have a good meditation, and then other days, you try and the mind just keeps on slipping out, and you get, what is this happening today? It's not nice. Definitely, it's a constant effort, and after a lot of practice, one develops that capacity and that degree of concentration that's necessary. If one could do that just by 5 minutes of meditation, morning and evening, then there will be so many yogis walking down the street all over the place. Doesn't happen like that. Small things don't happen in life to earn money or to acquire a degree or qualification. What to expect? Talk about these type of things. So tremendous amount of perseverance and patience is necessary. Why are we talking about these things? So that we know that these problems will be encountered upfront, so to say. But more than that, the technique, whatever practicing itself contains the cure. So the medicine has been given, and that brings about the cure. Okay, so it should not look for some other means to overcome these problems. Let me pacify my mind, then I'll meditate. No, the very purpose of meditation is to pacify the mind. Okay, then meditation, that will come automatically. So the solution that is given by the discipline, is embedded in the discipline itself. What is the discipline? Repeating the mantra. Tasya vachaka pranava, the omkara sound mantra, Shabda Brahman, is the indicator of the Supreme Being. Tat japa tarartha bhavanam. Repeat that with great devotion and sincerity while contemplating on the meaning of that mantra. And then what's the meaning of this mantra? This being Ishvara is the omniscient teacher, is the eternal one, he's the guru of the gurus, he's the very embodiment of knowledge and all the divine qualities, and we are related to each other. And because when we can make that connection, remember, We were talking about how we are entangled with this world. The same mind can be entangled with the divine. If we can disentangle it from the lower things, then the upper entanglement happens. So you have to understand that the external world is out there, material things. You don't want to be entangled with that. Then there is this internal being also, which is Ishvara, which is our higher self. In between is the mind. And the important thing is the mind pointed outwards or inwards? Is it entangled outwards or inwards? What's the discipline? Ishwarar Pati Anurag. That means you have the entanglement or connection towards the Ishwara. Jagater Prati Vairagya. That means all the things out there, I will disconnect myself. It means a reorientation of the mind. Okay, without that, it will not happen. And who will do that reorientation and keep it there? There is a higher faculty beyond the mind called the buddhi, which is the controller of the mind. Okay, and when this buddhi is alert and strong, it will gradually navigate and redirect that energy inwards. If the buddhi is not there, not alert, then we are totally at the mercy of these senses and external organs. The example of this chariot, which is the body, and the five senses are the horses, which are yoked, and in the hands the ropes are connected. The buddhi is the charioteer, the sarathi. He's controlling the five senses with the help of the rope. The ropes are the mind, and behind that is a jivatma. This is an example given in the Kathopanishad. So we have discussed that. So if this buddhi is not alert, the ropes are let loose, the horses are having a field day, so to say. So first this buddhi has to be awakened, and their mind has to be strong. You can't be trying to control these horses with some strings. You require some solid, strong ropes to that. So a strong mind, not a whimsical mind and very sensitive mind that gets very, very easily upset and disturbed and all that. That type of mind is not very good. We have to strengthen it. But it should be held tight by this buddhi, which is the controller. So this outward going tendency of the mind, because of which the mind gets entangled with the world, coupled with the world, and they are vibrating in that same loop. But that's a low level entanglement, and we have this world experience where we're born and live this. The sages say the same mind can become the means to have a higher experience, which we call a spiritual experience, where we don't feel ourselves to be a body or mind, but we are a pure consciousness or Atman. So this Atman, this mind, has to now resonate and entangle it with the higher energy that is there. So where is that high energy? Well, this Omkara or Ishvara is that entity deep inside us. So when we repeat the mantra with great concentration, understanding that the word Om is not simply a sound, it's not simply a word. The word that we hear when I say the word Om and that you hear, basically I have uttered something, it has disturbed the air and that vibrates across as a pressure wave, it hits your eardrum and you hear something which you interpret. But what I'm trying to convey to you is an idea, but being transmitted through this vehicle of this sound called Om, so to say. That idea is an energy, not even at the mental level, but at a very deep spiritual level. So you can say that this Omkara is the cosmic energy at the very core of the universe. When the universe was created, the first sound that comes out, or when the Supreme Consciousness begins the process of its descent in the process of manifestation, that first sound is called Pranava or Shabda Brahman. Then it becomes more and more grossified, materialized, and as it happens, all these levels of universe creation comes out, right from Brahmaloka, that's where the Omkar sound comes, and it comes down. So Bhur Jana, Mahajana, Satya Tapa, and Brahmaloka, all these planes of consciousness are there. You have to understand that at this particular horizontal plane, we talk in terms of time and space. Desh, Kala, Nimitta, space, time, causation. But when we talk in the vertical direction, in one plane above the other, it's better to use the idea of frequencies, like one frequency is higher than the other, but they're occupying the same space. Just like, there's so many TV channels out there. I just hold the receiver in one place and I click the button and different channels are coming because I'm tuning it to different frequencies. It's not I have to lift my antenna up to different heights. So they all coexist in one place. If you use that type of understanding from science, that when you talk about these higher planes of consciousness, they are all these different frequencies, so to say. They are all energy. Energy means vibrating at particular frequency. So our own minds are a bundle of energy vibrating at frequency X. When that particular frequency is tuned with the material things, then we experience that particular world. And when that same mind can be tuned to a slightly higher frequency, then this world will disappear, which happens when you go to sleep. Okay, so when you go to sleep, suddenly for a moment your eyes and ears are all there, but you're not experiencing all those things. Why? You have decoupled yourself from this physical world frequency, so to say, and gone into a deeper level where you're in this dream world and all those things. You experience yourself as a dreamer. You have all the dream experiences and everything are happening. You're moving around, talking to people, maybe having a nice meal also. So long you're dreaming, all that experience is totally real to you. When you come down and you wake up and they said, oh, that was only a dream. I had a nice meal in the dream, but I'm still hungry when I wake up, type of thing. Experience is there. So what had happened was, and that's an experience all of us have, is we experience the world depending, or our experience of whatever the reality is depends on the frequency to which we are tuned. And spiritual life means being able to manage that tuning capacity. Sri Ramakrishna had that capacity. So he would simply lift his mind and he'll go into samadhi. On the way, he will experience so many things. He'll see the Divine Mother, he'll have a chat with her and see her presence in everywhere, and then he'll merge into samadhi where everything disappears. But being an incarnation of God, Ishwar Koti, he had the power to also descend. And when he comes down, then all this world is experienced, and he comes back here and he's talking to people. So that is the specialty, a special capacity of a human being, that he can transcend and disentangle himself from all this physical world experience in which we are born, and uplift himself to this higher dimensions step by step until he can experience himself as an infinite existence, infinite knowledge, infinite bliss, Akhand Satchit Ananda, one with that cosmic consciousness which is called Brahman. So that is the challenge, and that's the invitation by these spiritual scientists that, look, don't settle down for this very gross experience only, and here everything is changing, everything will go, but there is something wonderful. You are immortal as the Atman. You are full of knowledge and bliss and eternal and full of peace and beauty and holiness and all those things. That is your true nature. But that Atman has become entangled through these different bodies. So it becomes identified with this nature. So the first eye sense comes, that means he sees his reflection a little, and that reflection of eye sense, which is called the pure eye sense, ahamkara, then becomes identified with the causal body, identifies with the subtle body, then it has become identified with the gross body, and then it goes out and identifies itself with the things of this world. So this I, and then it goes out, it becomes my. This I and my, ami, amar, that is what is called Maya, which forces us to deviate from our Atman nature and become attached to this individuality that we are and the things outside. So the teachers say we have to reverse that process, and that means disentangling ourselves, decoupling ourselves from things that are holding us down, loosening or untying the rope that is holding the boat to the bank, or removing the ropes that is preventing this hot air balloon to rise, or letting go the bear, so to say. It takes a little bit of time and you have to make some effort. So sometimes forcefully extricate yourself. Somebody goes and lives in an ashrama and all that type of thing, or goes to change the place and all that type of thing. But if we are constantly alert at various types of attachments that we have, and understand the mechanics of it so that we don't feed into it. Okay, so if you are trying to say, it's like about that monkey, I saw a little bit of a little video about how somebody had put a little hole, and through that hole he put a banana or something on the other side, and a monkey was watching the whole thing. So he put his hand out there, got hold of the banana, it becomes a fist. Now he's able to trying to pull it out, but the big fist is not coming out. So he's struggling and jumping and shouting, but no one is holding him from the other side. He has to give up hold of that banana and will come out. But he doesn't have that buddhi or intelligence that I should let go of the banana and I will be able to take my hand out. So that monkey is there in many forms in us. We have reached out and got hold of something. We have the capacity to give it up, but we do not know that we have to give up that before I can free myself out of that. We are the ones who have trapped, not there somebody else. It's like somebody was holding onto a rope that was tied behind a vehicle, and suddenly the vehicle began to move, and this person is being dragged behind it. So he's screaming, shouting, he's bleeding, or cuts in the eye. He says, "I'm painful." Somebody is on the roadside, says, let go of the rope, let go of the rope. Because you are holding the rope, not the whole rope is holding you. And if you can let go, you'll be freed from that pain. You'll find that in a lot of our experiences around when you suffer, we are the ones who are holding. We want to let go, but somehow that bear is not letting us go because this coupling that is there has become little too sticky. So, what is the means? We've got 5 minutes for today. That mantra itself, pranama, itself contains within that power to entangle or lift this mind, resonate it to its level. So imagine this Omkara is a living, pulsating mantra, dynamic. Our own minds are also something like that. When we repeat that mantra with great concentration, we are trying to tune that mental energy, the vibration, the frequency to that. And as we come close to that, at some point it will begin to pull you in by itself. Just like the bigger system will pull the lower system, the Ishvara energy will lift the mind of the devotee. And you don't make that much effort. How do you explain that type of coupling that happens without your own effort? You say that's called grace. Your effort to repeat the mantra and do sadhana is called your self-effort. And when you come within that field or space, you'll find that the pull of the divine itself is strong, that it will draw you in, and you feel, now I don't have to make some effort, I'm just slipping into it type of thing. And before you know, you're connected so deeply that you don't want to let go and you enjoy that. But that connection that happens at the last moment without your effort in a very tremendous way, what do you call grace? Something that you didn't have to work hard, you get freely because somebody is giving you more than you work for. That is something like a bonus. Okay, you work so hard, you get $100,000, but the boss decides to give you another $500. You said that's a bonus. You know, graciously has given me some more. I didn't earn it. Likewise, you work so much spiritual discipline and try to come to this energy of the Ishvara, so to say, by repeating this mantra with great concentration and devotion regularly. At some point, you'll find that this mantra begins to work within you. This tamoguna and rajoguna, which were causing all these problems that they are. These problems will begin to lessen. Your general health will improve, your energy level will be up, the mind is light and buoyant, and you are greatly enthusiastic about your spiritual practice, and you get good concentration, you are losing that pull of the world, and sense enjoyments begin to fall off. You say, I don't enjoy those type of company or people, I'm not interested in those type of things. That means you are beginning to get entangled with some higher energy, and as a result, you are slipping out of the control of the external energy. So the teacher says, these can be tat pratishedhartham ekatva abhyasa. To overcome these problems, try to focus your mind on one idea. And what is that one idea? The idea of our divine nature, our oneness with the cosmic being called Ishvara, with one pointed repetition of the mantra, which is called Swadhyaya. This is part of the Kriya Yoga. Whether you know the chemical composition of the medicine, whether you know how the element disease is there, if you know it's good, even if you did not know, but you take the medicine properly, it will have its effect. Whether you know or not, if you repeat this mantra Om with great sincerity and devotion, or the mantra that has been given by a spiritual teacher, within itself, the energy that is encapsulated in it in the seed form, we plant it, give some water, give some air, a little shoot comes, keep taking care of it, and the tree comes and it will give you fruits and flowers. So we don't really require too many things. What we require is tremendous amount of faith and practice, but having that mental alertness of that elephant controller, wherever the elephant strains out his trunk to catch some plantain or banana tree, you have to smack it a little bit and say, not outwards, the real joy is inwards. In this way, we try to detach ourselves from this world, the material world. Remember, it has become very, very deeply entangled. So it will not happen overnight, this uplifting. But with great patience and perseverance, we do our spiritual practice at some point through our self effort, purushartha, and by the divine grace, kripa, this change in our mental level happens, and suddenly you find the world around you becomes transformed. It's not only objects, material objects and physical people, that inside all of them is that same cosmic consciousness pulsating in all these forms. Actually, it is that same consciousness which is called Brahman, which another form becomes Shakti, and she projects this whole universe and all living beings, and we are part of it. Our mind itself is our best friend, is our worst enemy. We can be prisoners of our thoughts and ideas and be caught into it, or we can devise a way to get out of it also. The means are within us. It's like a screwdriver. You turn it clockwise, you tighten it. You turn it anti-clockwise, you loosen it. You should know which way to tighten or which way to turn to free yourself. That knowledge comes from this type of using our own intelligence and reasoning, so that we make the right decisions. And every time you ask, is this going to entangle me more to the world, or is this going to disentangle me so that I can rise to another level? With that discriminative intelligence, if you are watchful over every thought, every word, every deed, your own friend will be your navigator, your guide, and show you the path towards freedom. So I hope this little bit of discussion in a bit of a rational way, a little bit of science and physics in there, gives you some insight into how the mind functions. But what we require is to make this knowledge into an actionable knowledge, reminds constant alertness. So think well before we do anything, and reflect afterwards we have done something. So at night, before you sleep, you ask yourself, during the day, so many activities happen. What was the result? More entanglement with the world or less? And you'll find very interesting exercise if you do. You'll find that, yeah, it requires a little bit more carefulness and alertness about how we engage with the world. So, our Christmas, we come to the end of the year. It's time to take stock take like business people will do. You audit, so you have to do a spiritual audit and say, okay, this world, this pandemic and all that has been a great teacher in various ways at different levels. What lessons have you learned, and how have you utilized this time for your maybe going deeper inside, because outside was shut? So you were forced to retreat, but was it by this force that you were locked in your room, or you used that opportunity to retreat deeply within your whole self and grow spiritually? We will not be having any of these Sunday classes here, like Swamiji has said, till 23rd or third week of January. But I'm trying to see if we can have that over Zoom. Okay, and so we'll put it on our Facebook and give you a link where you can register. And we have a Zoom account where up to 100 people can come online, and the rest, the classes will be broadcast just like we're doing through YouTube and Facebook. So we'll somehow keep in contact, maybe not regularly like we're doing, but I'll try to get something organized so that we have some continuity of these discussions. Until then, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, keep well and safe, and keep working. Don't get entangled, free yourself. Om Asato Ma Satkamaya, Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.